Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Zone Blitz. As always, I'm Vince Miller, joined by my co-host Ashton Overholt. And we are recording on Tuesday night. The playoff rankings just came out, so we're going to have a little reaction on that. We do apologize. We've both been pretty busy this last weekend, so we didn't get a week 9 reaction pod out. So we'll probably do some of that on this pod as well. But initial thoughts here. Those of you that are listening, you've seen these now, but this is our instant reaction because these just came out. The initial college football playoff rankings. Georgia 1, 2 is Alabama, 3
Yep.
Michigan State, 4 Oregon, 5 Ohio State, 6 Cincinnati, 7 Michigan, 8 Oklahoma, 9 Wake Forest, and 10 Notre Dame. So that's the top 10. What jumps out to you right away? What do you think? There's a few places to go here, but what jumps out to you immediately?
Yeah. I think Michigan State being 3 and then Oregon 4 is. I think Oregon being 4 is the most surprising to me because the committee is not gonna. They're clearly valuing that win that they had over Ohio State, and that means something later on. That really does, because if Oregon doesn't lose a game, it's hard to imagine them dropping out of 4. If they remain undefeated for the rest of the year, given the fact that they beat Ohio State, and Ohio State's one of those teams that would have to jump them. So I think that proved a lot to me there, and I think that's telling. That is really telling where their head is at.
So Alabama is second.
Yeah, as they should be. As they should be.
Should they be? What's their best win?
They're the second best team in the country.
Well,
That,
yeah,
that- no,
they
that's
are.
what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's what the CFP, that's what the playoff committee, that's what their job is, to get the 4 best teams there. And outside of Georgia, you would take Alabama probably over everyone. I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. But then Michigan State's not
Michigan-
the third best team.
No, that just completely ruins the whole argument. I don't understand why Michigan State's there. That should be, in my mind, Ohio State and Michigan State should be flip-flopped. It should be UGA, Bama, Michigan, or UGA, Bama, Ohio State, and then you can insert either, Oregon, Cincinnati, whoever you want. But Michigan State should probably have no business being there. I hate to say that, but I don't think they do.
It's really this is bizarre to me because obviously there's 2 ways of looking at the rankings.
Uh,
One is who do you think is the best team and rank them that way. The other
Yep.
way is who deserves to be ranked highest, rank them that way.
right.
Michigan State is number 3 based purely on their resume. Alabama, I think if you're going on a resume, like they should be 5, I think.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. How? Like they throttled Ole Miss, throttled them.
You're right.
Like,
And
they
that
have-
has to account for something.
That means something because Ole
But-
Miss is good. Ole Miss is really good.
So looking at these top 10 teams here,
Yeah.
Oregon has the best win. They went and beat Ohio State at Ohio State. Am I wrong in saying that Cincinnati has the second best win, winning
No,
at
no,
Notre Dame?
That's absolutely right.
So
Aside
how
from
are they
Texas A&M.
sixth?
Yeah. Because the committee seems to they're not going to value the group of a non-group of 5. They're not going to treat that the same. Now, I thought they would. I thought Cincinnati would be in the top 4. I will say this is almost a death blow to Cincinnati. Like
Pretty much.
the fact that they're out, like they're pretty much out of it, because considering the fact that they beat Notre Dame and beat them. I don't know if you want to say handily. It was 11, right? Wasn't it 24-13?
It was 2 scores, whatever
Yeah,
it was.
I think it was 11 points. A comfortable victory for Cincinnati, in which they were, at Notre Dame, and they were clearly the better team there, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, it's a death blow to Cincinnati. I don't think that they can recover and still make the playoffs, unless, crazy things happen, which could happen, but I would be pissed if I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
Cincinnati fan, because that is not fair. They have probably the second best win. Notre Dame would be undefeated if they didn't play Cincinnati. If they do not schedule Cincinnati, Notre Dame would be undefeated and probably a top 4 team, but they did, and they got hammered by them, and Cincinnati is punished, and it's not fair.
If that result was flipped, Notre Dame would absolutely be in the top 4, and Cincinnati, they won that game, and they're number 6. To me, this is about the most blatant we've seen the committee just disregard the resume in order to just get rid of the group of 5. Like, this is a clear sign the group of 5 is never making this playoff. Like, it's not going to happen.
No,
if you can do it with beating a legit top 10 team at their place by 2 scores, and if this was the end of the year, and all of these teams ahead of Cincinnati still were at undefeated or one loss, I would absolutely understand it.
Right.
But as of right now, Cincinnati has a better resume than everyone but Georgia, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could say maybe Oregon. Does Cincinnati go undefeated with Oregon's schedule? Like, probably not. Like,
probably not.
Probably
but
not.
if you're the committee's always big on who have you beaten.
Sure, but I think no. I'm with you. No, I agree with you. I'm a Georgia fan who is thoroughly impressed by Cincinnati. In January 1st when we played them in the Peach Bowl, they should have beat us. They legitimately should have won that game, and they didn't. And we saw those might have been the two best teams in the country, or two of the. I think I'd probably have Cincinnati 3. I guess I would. What's your top 4? Just throw out your top 4 real quick. And I guess we never even really mentioned, like, who would you put in the 4, and what would be your criteria to do so?
I think my top 4 would have been Georgia 1.
Yep.
2, 3, and 4 in some order. Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and Michigan State. And yeah, we see Oklahoma as 8 in this.
Oklahoma's 8?
8.
They're at 8.
And they've actually been playing pretty well as of late. Like, not amazing.
No.
But they have some
really.
like sizable wins against mediocre teams.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, man. This ranking, I think if you could make an argument for most of this top 10, either based on how good you think they are or what is their resume. But either way, there's a major outlier, and the outliers are Alabama and Cincinnati in some order, depending on which way you're looking at it. I don't know.
What was your top 4 again? Run through them one more time.
Georgia 1, and then
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not sure about the order, but Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Michigan State. Just because right now I think those are the 4 most impressive resumes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think like Cincinnati would have still needed help, like because they were going to eventually get passed.
Okay, so is it the committee's job to pick the best resumes, the 4 best resumes, or just the 4 best teams? Like, or is it their job to pick the 4 best teams?
It's kind of all on how you define it, because they've always said they're picking the 4 best teams,
which is almost what they did here. It's almost what they did.
It's almost what they did, but then they have Oregon over Ohio State.
But Oregon beat Ohio State.
Yeah, but they're not better than Ohio State, and Michigan State is ahead of them as well.
Michigan State's the only one that I disagree with. Michigan State would get throttled, I think, by any of the other teams in the top 6. But,
yeah.
But okay, I believe that. I think Michigan State would get absolutely hammered by any other team in the top 6. Oregon should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. Like that game has to matter for something, because they went on the road. And you can say that Ohio State is better now than they were then, and that Oregon's maybe slightly worse now than they were then. I mean, that's maybe valid, but it doesn't matter because they beat them. They did win at the shoe, and so like that has to matter for something. And scrolling Twitter is going to be a dark place tomorrow. I already seen Danny Cannell and Joel Klatt are just going to have a heyday, but like. Bama should be second. Like if you're going by the best team. Okay, so Georgia's 1, that's easy. I think everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
Bama at 2. I never even said what I would want for
what would you have gone?
So okay, so Georgia's 1, obviously. That's the easy one. Oh goodness. I think I'd put Alabama 2. Okay, so like if you're going to put the 4 best teams, I'd go Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and then probably Cincinnati. Probably. Like, I think Cincinnati could beat...
So you'd have Ohio State ahead of Oregon then?
I would.
And you just said that Oregon has to be ahead of Ohio State.
Yeah. But, okay. But that's a different criteria, though. It's a different criteria. It's not the same. Like...
So you subscribe to the thought that it should just be the 4 best teams.
Why not?
So because if that happens, then a loss, let's say Alabama loses 3 times.
Yeah. And we
They're
still put them in.
Vegas would still favor them over everyone but Georgia.
They would. That's true.
That can't happen.
No,
the actual results on the field have to matter.
They do.
They have to matter.
Okay, but wouldn't you agree that there's a difference of level of the teams that Alabama's playing versus the team that Cincinnati's playing? Or
yes.
Oregon even. Oregon's not playing the same level of teams outside of a non-conference that they had against Ohio State.
Sure, but right now, Cincinnati has a better win than Alabama.
I don't know about that. Like, I would pick Ole Miss to beat Notre Dame straight up right now. I think I would. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
And that was a throttling. And by the way, they blitzed Mississippi State, who has looked very impressive since then. They absolutely hammered Mississippi State, who's, I think 17 in this ranking. And that was 49-7 just drubbing. So, like...
Yeah. I guess Alabama does have a lot, like, they have a fair amount of, like, pretty good wins.
They do. It's solid.
But...
yeah. Ooh, this is tough.
It just... The whole thing, if you're going to have Michigan State 3...
that one does...
Then it makes no sense that Cincinnati is 6 and Alabama
is 2.
Like,
no,
it does not make any sense. So, I don't know.
I will say, I actually would maybe try to flip, because I don't know if Oregon, Ohio State is what's interesting for me. That's probably the most interesting as to how you have those two. And I think that's telling. Like, I really do. It's a big deal that Oregon's 4. Because, so the committee is valuing wins. Like, they're going to value
head to head.
Right, but they're not valuing Cincinnati's win.
Right.
They're not giving Cincinnati 0 value. They're giving Michigan State a ton of value for beating Michigan.
Yeah.
And not much else, because Michigan State hasn't beat anyone else that's good. Miami's not any good. Well, no, they're not any good. Who has Ohio State beat? Like, we're talking about impressive wins. Ohio State's beat nobody.
Their best win is Penn State,
nobody.
who just lost Illinois.
Right, in 9 overtimes. Like you can't tell me that it's all about your quality of wins when you have Ohio State at 5.
Think, because Ohio State does still play Michigan State and Michigan. Like, if they win out, then yeah, they're obvious.
It's different.
They're obviously ahead of Cincinnati at that point.
They haven't played those games yet. Yeah.
Right now, they don't have those wins yet.
Cincinnati should be ranked ahead of Ohio State.
They should be ranked ahead of Ohio State.
If that's the criteria.
And Michigan State and Alabama, I think.
You think Cincinnati should
just
be 2?
Right now.
Yeah.
On what we have seen up through week 9.
Yeah.
And they would fall down my rankings probably every week from now on. But
yeah.
Yeah. The committee has made it very clear we are never going to see a group of 5 team in the playoff.
No. Cincinnati cannot come back from that. Like, they don't have they can't have won the second biggest. I mean, that's the second most impressive win of anyone in the top 10 and not be above 5. Like, they're at 6. They have no chance of elevating anymore because they have no one left to play that's any good. And unless total chaos happens, which, I mean, I guess it could, but like then you're starting to hope that, Tennessee beats Georgia, then Georgia knocks off Alabama, then you know what I mean though? Like, you have to have a lot of losses where like a Michigan State beats Penn State and then like Penn State beats like you're gonna have to have some things kind of trickle down where like some teams beat up on each other. So
the way this is set up, like Alabama, assuming they lose to Georgia, like I think they'll still be ranked ahead of Cincinnati. Literally, Bama with 2 losses will still be ranked ahead of Cincinnati because they'll say, well, they're better than them, and they'll be right.
I know,
but that's bullcrap.
It is kind of.
That's why I say you got to go by the resume.
Yeah,
and
I don't like
the
that.
committee says the committee says they're always about doing the 4 best teams.
Yeah,
but if you look at what they've done, they've gone by the resume. Every year so far, they've been going by the resume, and they call it the 4 best teams.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is now Cincinnati has one of the 4 best resumes, and so they
do
knock them out.
They have a much better win than anything Ohio State has to offer, than anything. Like, I mean, Georgia. I'm not going to say Cincinnati has a better win than Georgia, like just because Georgia's overall quality has been better. But as far as just a one-off most impressive game, Cincinnati has a more impressive win against a ranked team to this point, because none of like, unless you say Georgia's win over Kentucky was impressive, which is okay. But yeah, everyone else has fallen off a cliff. Clemson did Georgia no favors in that department. Georgia's going to be fine. I'm not worried about that. Like just keep winning and you're in. You can even lose to Alabama in the SEC championship and still get in. Like Georgia's they have that much leeway right now. But yeah,
I do think too,
it's frustrating.
Just as a Notre Dame fan, I think this is also a death knell for our playoff chances. Because obviously the committee does not respect Cincinnati. That's our loss.
Right.
And the optics of putting Notre Dame ahead of a one-loss Cincinnati, say if Cincinnati was to lose the game, it wouldn't be great. So our hope was basically for Cincinnati to get in, for there to be a lot of chaos, and for us to sneak in as the number 4 seed as well as Cincinnati. So, and that's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. So Notre Dame is going to go, like, assuming they win out, it'll be 11-1 and New Year's Six bowl game. Like that, we're capped. Like, yeah, there's nothing we can do at this point because the committee kind of has to keep us below Cincinnati, and clearly they're not going to place Cincinnati up there. So, yeah.
Okay, who are the best? Who are the best 4 teams right now?
So, it's a good question, and here's my whole point with, if we're going to choose the 4 best, why don't we just make Vegas pick the 4 best?
So I don't like that. Like, I mean, because
you have to go by resume. That's my point.
Yeah.
But okay, to answer your question, the 4 best teams in the country are Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. Oh man,
Oklahoma or Oregon, probably, right?
I'd probably roll with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Maybe Cincinnati, maybe, but probably Oklahoma.
I think Cincinnati could beat Oklahoma. I think Cincinnati could beat Ohio State too.
I think they could, but I don't think they're better than them. Like, best of 7 series, they're not winning 4.
Right. I don't like the committee. Like, I'll be really honest. I do not enjoy I don't think they just have they have no personality. Like, they have no ability to know what, like, okay. Like, I understand they have an impossible job, especially this year, because it's just a total mess after 1. Like literally after Georgia at 1, nobody agrees on who should be where. But like, how can you be that? Yeah, I don't understand how they can be that far off on certain teams because, yeah, I'm not sure. It's just, I don't understand what they're telling us. Like, I don't understand it. Like, is it the 4 best teams like you say it is, or is it the 4 best resumes? In which case, like, everyone has to just be terrified because Oklahoma's undefeated, And if so, why is Oklahoma at 8 if it's all about winning? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I'm kind of I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say. Like, I kind of maybe expect that from the committee. I'm not sure. I know all the Klatt and Cannell, all those guys are going to be furious about this.
And I think somewhat rightly so.
Yeah.
This is the 8th year of the playoff.
Yeah.
And other than maybe 2014 when TCU dropped from 3 to 6 the last weekend after winning 49 to 3.
Yeah.
Like, that was the one time before this year where I was like, that's a bit shady. This is the first time since then where I've been like, I don't know that the committee is acting in good faith. Like, I actually feel like the tinfoil hat people, like, they might have a slight point. Like, this is a little more about money maybe than we thought.
Cincinnati beat Navy by 7 points just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you could make the argument that if they had been better the last 3 weeks or whatever,
it'd be different. Yeah,
that they might be up higher.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. But if you're going to pick that apart, I mean, pick apart Michigan State. I mean, they have a very narrow win against Michigan where they probably should have lost, and they have a bunch of other, like, they barely beat Indiana. They've struggled with a bunch of other teams. Like, yeah. So any way you look at it, any argument you use against Cincinnati, then it should also apply to these other teams, and it clearly is not. So I don't know.
Any other surprises for you, like in the rankings in general? I saw Minnesota at 20. Like, Minnesota has turned it around. Like, PJ Fleck is rowing the boat down there right now.
Yeah.
Or up there, I guess. I was impressed with that.
Sorry, I don't have the whole. I only have the top 10 in front of me. I got to pull it up real quick.
Okay, read off the top 10.
Okay. Okay, actually, I have everything here now. I'll read them all off. 1 to 25. 1 Georgia, 2 Alabama, 3 Michigan State, 4 Oregon, 5 Ohio State, 6 Cincinnati, 7 Michigan, 8 Oklahoma. That one made me go, whoa.
Yep.
9 Wake Forest, 10 Notre Dame, 11 Oklahoma State, 12 Baylor, 13 Auburn, 14 Texas A&M. Big matchup coming up there.
Yep.
15 BYU, which was interesting. They have 2 losses, am I right? 16 Ole Miss, 17 Mississippi State, 18 Kentucky, 19 NC State, 20 Minnesota, 21 Wisconsin, 22 Iowa, 23 Fresno State, 24 San Diego State, 25 Pittsburgh. It's interesting to me that Fresno State and San Diego State are both ranked, but SMU is not. Obviously, the recency bias there, they just lost.
Right.
Pitt is somehow ranked
25.
25.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. It's a bit weird. Wisconsin at 21 is interesting because clearly the committee kind of respects them.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame throttled them.
I know.
But Notre Dame is at 10. Yeah. Cincinnati beat Notre Dame comfortably, and they're at 6. This is maybe one of the weirder top 25s I've seen come out of the committee. I don't know.
Yeah.
What sticks out to you?
I mean, yeah, Michigan State up there is weird, and then I think Michigan State probably shouldn't be there.
But see, I actually don't have a problem with them being there, based on their resume. Like, they're undefeated, and that should matter. Like, it should matter that you're undefeated. Yeah. And they beat Michigan.
So you want Oklahoma higher then, is what you're saying?
I have Oklahoma higher and Alabama lower. And obviously, like, it's all in front of Alabama. Like, if they beat Georgia, they're in the playoff.
Yeah. So do you
and
have
maybe
Alabama?
The 1 seed at that point. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Actually, probably a good chance.
But if they lose to Georgia, they shouldn't be in.
No, agreed. And like, they won't get in if they lose to Georgia. They will not get in.
I don't think they will.
No, they won't. They won't.
But it makes me think that they'll probably still be ahead of undefeated Cincinnati, and that doesn't sit right with me.
I would like to think that undefeated Cincinnati would be ahead of 2-loss Alabama. Like,
we'll see.
I would like to think that. I don't know if Cincinnati's going to go undefeated though. Like, I'm not sure. They have not been very impressive the last 3 weeks, and you could say that like that's the argument, right? Like that they're not as good as what they were earlier in the year. Like that's the counter argument.
And if they do lose, that bails the committee out for sure.
Which is what they're probably hoping for. They need some
absolutely. The committee absolutely wants Cincinnati to win a game.
They do.
But man, like this is iffy to me. Like, this is where lawsuits start to happen, maybe. and this makes me really like. Yeah, I have been a proponent. I have been a proponent of an 8-team, all-at-large playoff for as long as I can remember. As long as I've cared about college football, I want 8 at-large teams. It would be perfect to me. It's never going to happen because most of the Power 5 conferences, other than the SEC, will not agree to it. The others won't agree to it because they want their auto bids. Well, if you're going to go auto bids, I like 12. Let's go ahead and do the 12-team proposal. Let's just do it because at that point, the group of 5 can shut up. They'll be in. I like the top 6 conference champs and then 6 at-larges.
Who wants the auto bids?
The ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 especially. And then, of course, the group of 5.
But they get them anyway. Like, okay, the Pac-12 doesn't, but the ACC has had that almost every year under Clemson, which is an auto bid because they've won the ACC all the time. The Oklahoma has done it numerous times already, out of the Big 12. The Pac-12 the Pac-12 has had no success, and like I understand why they would want an auto bid, but they would have some teams play in the playoff had there been 8 teams. I think that's what they're missing is that if there would be 8 teams and eight just at large bids, or you just take the 8 top ranked, then like the Pac-12 and the Group of 5 would have had multiple teams in already, including last year with Cincinnati. So some of these teams would be, and then Cincinnati would be comfortable this year if you were 8, because if they win all their games, there's no chance they drop below 8. because there's so much losing that's going to happen still in the top 5 or the top 10. So like they're going to be okay. Like, yeah, no, I agree, but I will say the committee to their like, I don't know, I hate to defend them because I don't really like the committee. I really don't. Like they're goofy. Like I just feel like they're like a bunch of like old goons who like don't watch any like sports. Like I honestly feel like some of us, I'm not sure, like fanatics. Like I mean, I watch every Saturday. You know, I watch so much college football. It's unbelievable, and like I feel like I could do a better job at putting, you know, at least ranking these teams. I really do. Like I feel like I could do as good of a job.
Where it would make sense because you were using the same logic across the board or whatever.
Exactly. You're not just taking like multiple, you know, for whatever team, you just use whatever logic you want, you know, based on your preference of that team. But like they haven't really, again, hate to defend them, but they haven't really gotten a bad badge, a bad playoff yet. Like
no,
like the only argument you could have is when TCU missed out, and like I mean again, like yeah, like I'm with you.
And Ohio State went on to win the title.
They won the whole thing. They won the whole thing.
They were probably better than TCU and Baylor that year.
They were,
and it made some sense because you're talking about conference champs who have one loss. Like, yeah, okay, fine. You chose the Big 10 over the Big 12, whatever. It's not as big of a deal. This is maybe to me like, and I have defended the committee most years. Like I feel like they really haven't seriously screwed up the playoff yet. Like they really haven't. And you can hold like the 11 to 25 rankings against them. That's not their job. Their job is the top 10, getting the top 10 right, especially the top 4. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, they've done a very good job of that.
Right.
This year, it feels gross to me.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to defend them anymore, at least not this year. And that's why 8 at-larges would be so perfect, man.
It would be.
It would be so beautiful. And you could do the first round on campuses.
Yeah. I know.
It would just be amazing.
Yeah. I agree. Like I'm with you there. What do you think of Wake Forest at 9? What's the thought there?
That feels about right. I mean, they're an undefeated Power 5 team who doesn't have a great win. NC State is, their best win. Did they play NC State yet, or do they still have to play them?
They still have to play them yet, yeah.
Who was I thinking of that they beat that's decent? They beat somebody that's decent. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. Wake Forest is like the ultimate like wild card here. If Wake Forest wins out, like you have to put them in. You have to be in. And that is a problem because Wake Forest would get absolutely blitzed by any of these teams. But like to their credit, like
they beat Virginia. That's who I was thinking of. So not quite as good as NC State, but they did beat them by 20. So
yeah,
it's a pretty solid win.
Okay.
But that's it. Like they don't have anything else impressive.
What's their remaining schedule? What's Wake Forest's remaining schedule?
Duke, NC State, Clemson, Boston College. So
okay. So those are the 3 best teams that they're playing at the end there.
They could finish 9-3.
Yeah, they probably
if they
really
go 13-0, I think they'll deserve to be in.
Oh my. Deserve isn't
because at that point
they will have earned it.
At that point, okay, so you've talked about Bama. They don't have that top tier win, but they got a bunch of those second tier wins. At this point, Wake Forest would have wins against Clemson, who's pretty good.
Clemson sucks.
Clemson has the second best defense in the country, I think.
Clemson is trash because they can't move the football. They cannot score points. Like I still get amped up. I was amped up about it today about like had they let me down in some of the bets. You know, like I'd bet on them to cover against Pitt. And
they'd also have wins against NC State, a decent Virginia team.
The NC State one would be by far the most impressive, by far.
Sure.
Is that one a home game for Wake or is that away at NC State?
Did I X out?
Because like I don't know how I feel about Wake Forest. Like I like Sam Hartman. I do. I mean, he's very talented.
They play NC State at home.
If Wake Forest goes undefeated, Sam Hartman is like a sneaky Heisman contender. More than just sneaky, he probably is like a finalist, I would say, because he's putting up numbers. He is putting up numbers.
They also have to go to North Carolina and to Boston College and to Clemson. So
they won't. Surely they're going to drop.
They're not going to go undefeated. So the committee will be fine there.
Yeah, we're going to be all right. Iowa's at 22, right where they belong. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Iowa is the 22nd best team in the country.
Agreed.
Pretty much exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
So
No hate.
We don't have to make fun of Iowa anymore because they're properly
no hate
rated.
this week. No hate this week.
No hate this week.
All love.
It was funny that you almost made them your lock last week, and then you came off it, and they ended up getting run by Wisconsin. And I'm sorry that your locks both failed for you anyway. That hurts. You don't want to talk about it. That's fine.
Yeah. I don't have much, I don't have much for you. Like, for those out there, if you're still looking to make, I did okay for you early on, but like currently I can't win a game right now. I cannot win a game. And it started, I'm not going to get into it. It started when Sean Clifford went out in the Iowa game. I was cooking up until that point, and it started there, and it's been a slide I can't stop. So fade me. Do whatever I say, do the exact opposite, and that's what'll happen. It's unfortunate. I'm going to try to get back on the winning side, though.
Is it possible that Vegas is finally figuring the teams out that we kind of had figured out earlier in the year?
Possibly. There were some teams that we were all over early on, but I will say, we both had Ohio State covering against Penn State.
Yeah.
From what I had seen from Penn State, I had zero reason to believe they were anywhere close to Ohio State. I had zero reason to believe that. And we saw all their weapons and the Ohio State's weapons. We were so impressed, and we're and Penn State, I understand that number was high, but it didn't feel like any number could be too high because Penn State has no defense. They didn't really have pass rushers. They didn't really get after it in previous games. And then to really stymie the Ohio State offense, they really slowed them down. That was what was most impressive was how they. Yeah, and again, not to get too much into the locks, but that was very frustrating to watch.
And I will say, we all thought that Ohio State had totally figured their problems out.
We did, yeah.
But the problem is they hadn't really figured them out against anybody good.
No, I know.
So
yeah,
keep an eye on them going forward.
Yep.
So let's just quickly run through last week's games. We don't have to do a normal recap.
Okay. Yep.
I don't have time for that actually, but Cincinnati. Tulane, 31-12.
That was close. That was a close game though at halftime.
Close most of the way.
14-12. Yeah.
Yeah. Baylor 31, Texas 24. Texas continues to just blow leads.
Yep.
Texas, I'm fine with him in the long run, but this year, Texas is not back. Wisconsin 27. that was uncalled for. They're tired. They're tired of people dogging them for that. Anyway.
Horns down.
Horns down. Wisconsin 27, Iowa 7. And was never really close.
Sounds about right.
Wisconsin just kind of dominated that one.
Turns out you actually have to have offense.
Apparently.
Offense matters too. Yeah, who knew?
Michigan State 37, Michigan 33. In a game that Michigan probably should have won.
Oh, definitely should have won.
Definitely should have won.
Yes.
And I know there was a lot of talk about refs. I did not see the whole game, so I can't comment on all of that.
I watched a lot. I did.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, I mean, I think I was really impressed with Cade McNamara, who was slinging the ball around.
They actually threw the ball
very well. He threw the ball very well, and then just to not be able to stop the run at all it was 30-14. You at 30-14 in the second half, you should be able to running the ball shouldn't even be in the opponent's playbook. Then you think that you forced them to throw, but they didn't. Michigan State just continued to run the ball. I think Walker finished with 8 or 9 yards average per carry, and it was just are you serious? Yeah, and he's incredible. He's the Heisman favorite right now, and as he should be. I've been on the Walker train for from the beginning, literally since week 1. But yeah, he's been very impressive. I was disappointed in Michigan because yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm kind of a hardball defender, and it's frustrating. He needs one of these big wins. He does, and
they were the better team, and they just didn't close.
Sure, and that's always the criticism with him, though, right? He can't find a way to quite beat a team that he probably should beat, and it goes back. But yeah, I think Michigan will actually play some of these remaining teams close. I really do. I think the Michigan Ohio State game is going to be very close at the end of the year.
So, gun to your head, does one of these Michigan schools beat Ohio State?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. I like it.
Yep.
I would not have even given that any consideration before this last week where Ohio State struggled with Penn State, but now it feels like there's a decent chance of it.
Well, Ohio State's not real good at stopping the run. I don't know if we've noticed this yet, but like the teams that have had success against them are teams that can really run the ball really well, and I think both Michigan schools can. So I think that could be really interesting. Very.
Yes. Okay, Miami beats Pitt 38-34. Hence my surprise that Pitt is actually ranked. They have lost to Western Michigan and Miami.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're ranked over SMU because they're in Power 5 and SMU is not.
That's true. Oh my, the committee's awful.
Pitt is just funky. I don't know what to think of them.
Yep.
And another team that's funky, Iowa State loses to West Virginia 38-31. What in the world? Is this pulling Matt Campbell off of all of the short lists for all these jobs that are opening up?
Yeah, I would say so. Like he's not in the short list really. Like for most of these jobs. Like who knows how the TCU job will sort out? But I couldn't believe that he would go somewhere else in conference. You know what I mean? Like that would just be weird.
Yeah, that would be
his job. Like we thought maybe like USC or maybe LSU, but probably not even LSU. So, but no, I'd say like as is currently constructed, probably neither of these teams are going to go after him. So I would say he's still at Iowa State for another couple of years.
Sure. Clemson meets Florida State 30-20.
Yeah,
which feels about right. I guess props to Clemson for scoring 30 points.
Well, they had a horrendous fumble recovery with no time left as they were doing the old lateral, thing. I don't know if you saw it or not. The little pitch and ladder, and the cover hit. It was literally his knee was almost down at the 1 yard line. And he picked it up and somehow rolled into the end zone.
So Clemson gets their first cover of the year.
It was their first one. Oh my good! They're now what 1-7, I think. Yeah, against the spread.
That would be considered a bad beat.
Yeah. If I was an FSU, I'm glad I'm not. Oof. That would be that's rough. I feel for you. I actually thought that watching the game was awful.
Georgia 34, Florida 7.
Yeah.
Tight for a while, and then all of a sudden, kind of the middle 8 minutes, I guess, is what Bill Belichick always talks about. End of the first half.
Yep.
Florida sort of just imploded.
They did.
The better
Did you
team
watch
won.
any of it or at all or no?
Very little. I'm trying to remember. We were tailgating at the time, and Georgia put the pedal to the metal then, and sounds like Stetson Bennett was not incredible. Is that right? They didn't play JT Daniels, by the way.
At all.
What is that about, Ashley?
Oh my God.
Are you worried?
Stop. I'm not going into this anymore.
Okay.
JT is healthy, and it makes 0 sense that he doesn't at least get some garbage time reps to knock off some of the rust. It makes 0 sense because you're going to need him at some point because Stetson has no vision downfield and can't see a safety. He threw multiple picks where the safety was literally standing there, and he tried to overthrow everyone, and the safety's he literally fair caught the ball. The safety needed to issue a fair catch warning to don't clobber me because I'm only one down here. And it was awful. Miserable picks. It doesn't matter because our defense is unbelievable. That's the bright side. But JT's healthy now. How? I was promised that it was because JT was hurt, and that was the promise, and everyone said that. I don't understand how you can watch that game as Kirby. I don't understand how Kirby can watch that game and not start JT next game. I do not understand it. If you do, that is coaching malpractice at that point.
The score was 34-7. That's what Kirby wants. That's what Kirby wants.
I don't care. He had a pick six. He had a fumble that was recovered at the 11, and then he had another interception that was at the 30-yard line, and they scored on the next play both times. So it was 21 points, and we had a late touchdown run. We scored 10 points from in the run of play. Well, 13, I guess. We scored 13 points in the run of play. And it was one was just a long touchdown run where they were just in garbage time. So we can't throw the ball. Yeah, please don't start with this. This is frustrating. No, it happens every year.
There's a non-zero chance that Georgia rides Stetson Bennett, goes undefeated all the way to the championship game, and then loses because he sucks. I'm sorry.
I can feel it coming. I can
There
feel
is
it
a
coming.
non-zero chance of that happening. So,
Oh, it's really good. I'd say it's 50% or higher. Okay. Because hopefully Stetson can't beat Alabama. Like the goal here is to like go to the SEC championship and then lose. And now we have to make changes because he's not going to start someone else unless Stetson loses. Because Kirby sees that and he sees 34-3 or whatever it was, and like 34-7, I guess. And like that just kind of like papers over the cracks a little bit. Like it really does. It just kind of, it makes everything go away, makes everything feel good. And we all know, like we all know the truth. We all know the truth that, you have to be able to throw the ball. You have to be able to throw the ball. That matters. Yeah. That matters.
By the way, so we both called for Florida to play Anthony Richardson, and they actually did, and it didn't work.
No, it didn't. It did not.
Was that just because Georgia's defense is so good, or is Anthony Richardson, like, he still needs seasoning, clearly?
I'd say it's probably some of both. I don't think it's unfair just to just crush him too much because he's talented, but like he's a freshman. Like, and this is the best defense anyone's seen in 10 years. So it's unfortunate that this was his first start. I think it's a little unfair to make this his first start because that's not like indicative of what he'll see in his college career. Like he's it can only get easier for him from there. So he's talented. Again, is most of his interceptions were pretty much just bad decisions where he was fooled and just made a poor decision. So he'll be all right. Yeah.
All right. Mississippi State 31, Kentucky 17. I know this one hurts for you. You had Kentucky as a lock, and I agree with you. Like I thought it was a good pick.
I know
Mississippi State is actually pretty good. Apparently,
who knew?
Who knew? They ran a lot in this game.
They had balance. It's like what the heck?
Mike Leach kind of out-coached Mark Stoops.
He absolutely did.
Fair to say. I mean,
that he coached circles around him. Like, no, that makes zero sense. Zero. I don't understand Mississippi State at all. Like, they're the most like bipolar team in all of college football. Like, it makes zero sense.
There are definitely several of those, and they are one of them. All right. Auburn 31, Ole Miss 20. This was one of those lines where we were like, interesting. Auburn's actually favored over Ole Miss, and then they won. And it was a home game, somewhat to be expected, but it does feel like Auburn is sort of rounding into form here.
It does.
They have the first-year coach, and it seems like maybe things are starting to like really actually kick into gear. Bo Nix is not. I wouldn't say he's living up to the recruiting billing where he was a 5-star.
Well. He's playing well though.
He's actually playing like a good quarterback.
Decent quarterback. No, he's above average. His throwing combined with like his obvious athletic ability is like he's dangerous. Like he's tough to play against. He's tough to defend. So hey, credit to Auburn. You remember like this was I think right after the Georgia State loss where they almost lost to Georgia State like really early on, and they had just lost to Penn State too. They have really done a good job at really circling everything up, and like they fired their wide receivers coach. And he got I think Harsin got like a lot of flack for it, but they have like just flat out balled since then. They've really improved. Definitely a team that like if you're a fan of Auburn, you're very impressed with them.
Right, absolutely. Houston 44, SMU 37. This was another game where we looked at the line and we're like, wait a second, why is Houston favored? Oh, apparently this is why. Houston is pretty much on a roll. They lost, was it to Texas Tech or somebody at the beginning of the year? And they haven't lost since. I better look that up because I don't know if that's accurate. I don't want to. I don't want to mischaracterize them in any way. So I'll just vamp here for a second while you do that. Yes, they did lose to Texas Tech. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to remind everyone that Dan Mullen is, I think, he's paid more than Kirby Smart right now. Dan Mullen is. We
should talk about the comments that have come out this week.
Dan Mullen,
the recruiting thing.
Hey, it's not recruiting season. We can't talk about that right now, Vince. It's not recruiting season. No, hey Vince, no, we can't talk about it because it's not recruiting season. So after the season ends, then we can talk about it because it is recruiting season. Then that's when you recruit. And this, by the way, it's not recruiting season, and that's also not why he lost 2 5-stars last week in the top 2 players in his class, because it's not recruiting season, and so he wasn't recruiting then. That's why that happened.
It's such a rough look, and I know that he didn't mean that they're not recruiting. Like they absolutely are recruiting, but they're not putting effort into it like they need to be. Like,
No, you're Florida. Yeah.
It is bad. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what Ryan Day could do at Florida?
Oh my goodness!
Even like Mario Cristobal at Oregon. Do you know what he would do at Florida? Like there's so many of these coaches that are at other places, and if they could have like the talent that is in even just the state of Florida and like the Southeast in general, like they would be bringing in 5-stars left and right.
And Florida State and Miami are down. Like they are not any good right now. Florida, everything is laid out for Florida to just be like really good.
He doesn't care. Apparently.
Oof. So does he go this offseason, or does Todd Grantham go as the sacrificial lamb?
Well, Grantham needs to go.
Grantham will go one way or another.
I couldn't believe he was around this long.
Like, how bad is it going to be? Like, they almost can't fire Mullen yet, can they?
Ooh, I would have said no. Even like Saturday night, I would have said no. But like the last 2 days, like with his comments that he made yesterday, and then like there's a media freeze on the whole program. Like he is only going to speak to the SEC teleconference that he has to do. I think it's like every Wednesday. He has to do that. But other than that, there's no media availability at all. And like that's sketchy. That is sketchy. And it means that there's really bad stuff going on right now. So I would have said no. I would have said absolutely no chance. But now I'm not so sure. Like Mullen looks to be more interested in other things.
You always said that the recruits know first, and
yeah.
You mentioned losing a couple big time recruits there.
Last week.
Yeah, and I know, and it's not even just those guys. They've lost out on a lot of other battles, and a lot of other schools are the beneficiary of that. I know as a Notre Dame fan, like one of the favorite players in our incoming class. He's actually only a 3-star in the composite, which is crap.
Right.
Devin Moore, 6'3" corner out of Florida, All-American. Like he's invited to one of the All-American Bowls, and somehow is still a 3-star by some services. Rivals has him as a 4-star.
Right.
Florida's been recruiting him this whole time.
Yeah.
He's a Florida kid.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame went in and took him. Like, you can't. Yeah, if you're Florida, man, you got to be able to hold on to that. Like, and I'm just saying one story because it's one I'm familiar with as a Notre Dame fan. But it's more. There's so many more stories than that. They're not recruiting the way they need to be.
They're not. Julio Humphrey, who was I believe he was their number 1 overall prospect, decommitted last week. And then just today, actually, he released his new top 3, which is Texas A&M, which makes sense, Georgia, which also makes sense, and then LSU, who is currently without a head coach. So they are getting out-recruited by a program with no head coach right now. So it's rough. That is rough. Hate to see it. Yes. Hate to see it. As a Georgia fan, you hate to see that.
Yeah. All right, we have to move on.
Sorry.
So the game I was at, Notre Dame 44, North Carolina 34. I was impressed by both teams' offenses. Less impressed with both teams' defenses for sure. Notre Dame clearly missed Kyle Hamilton, who was out with injury. And this is where – so Clark Lee did an excellent job just straight up as a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, was always on top of the halftime adjustments and all of that.
Yep.
Very professional. But his issue was recruiting.
Yeah.
And Marcus Freeman is recruiting like crazy since he's gotten there.
He is.
But the talent on the roster right now, like there's just not a lot. The back 7 especially, their defensive line has a lot of talent.
Right.
Their back 7, there's a bunch of good players. But
and Kyle Hamilton, yeah.
And then Kyle Hamilton is like the one guy in the back 7 that is like the surefire NFL player, All-American, all of that. And he's hurt.
So, yeah.
And the rest of their guys, there's just a lot. They have a lot of guys that are going to be cut by NFL teams at the end of camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they have a lot of NFL camp guys. I'm not sure how many 53-man roster guys they have.
Mm-hmm.
And their defensive line is different. Like, their defensive line, other than, like, after Kyle Hamilton, the next 5 best players in their defense are probably all on the defensive line. The back 7 is a little rough. And I think we saw some of that. And credit to Sam Howell.
He's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast.
I counted at least 3 different times where Notre Dame had a 3rd and long on them, and they brought pressure, and he got hit in the chest immediately,
right,
and still completed a ball down the field for a first down. And it was just deflating. Like, the crowd was actually like pretty hyped. It was a night game. They have the new thing now with the light show at the end of the 3rd quarter, and also shutting off the lights, when the players run on the field at the beginning of the game. And it was just like a good environment. But when that happens, when Sam Howell had the power to just make everyone, the volume just drops when he pulls that out. He threw for over 300 yards, ran for over 100 yards. He's a really good player. They have a good running back, Ty Chandler, a really good receiver in Josh Downs, and then Sam Howell just kind of dragged him along. The rest of the roster, pretty bad.
Yeah.
And that's why Notre Dame won. Like, Notre Dame was just better all around.
Yeah.
But
what was your assessment of the quarterback situation for Notre Dame? What'd you think?
I was pretty impressed. We actually saw Jack Cohn pull the ball down and run.
He ran. Did he run a touchdown in? Yeah.
He ran for like a 21-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And it was just like, hold on, wait, that's 17. That's not 12. What is going on here?
Yeah.
But like, their quick passing game was working pretty well. Kyron Williams,
beast,
199 yards, including just an insane 91-yard run. He runs to the right, and he's just stonewalled. He goes back to the left. There's still, like, North Carolina's best pass rusher is there to take him down for a 4-yard loss, and he just stiff arms him into next week. 91 yards at the sideline. Man, I do think he's kind of bailing Tommy Rees out of some questionable early down play calling, because they still run the ball a little too often on early downs, and it's working out better than it did at the beginning of the year. The offensive line has steadily improved from horrible to average. Like, you can pretty confidently say they're average, which is really bad by Notre Dame standards.
Right. Yeah.
But at least they're average now. And Kyron Williams, 199 yards with this offensive line is so impressive. Yeah. And Lorenzo Styles, the true freshman, for the 2nd week in a row, led them in receiving yards. Logan Diggs, true freshman running back, had his first career touchdown. So it's good to see some of the younger players. I feel good about Notre Dame's next several years, but their ceiling is, New Year's Six Bowl this year.
Which is fine though. Like, considering how much they lost, like, it's a successful year.
Sure.
They're gonna hit their over. So, like, they're gonna be all right.
Yes. All right, Ohio State, Penn State, the other night game, the other big one. Ohio State beats Penn State 33-24. In some ways it felt like it was closer than that. Some ways it felt like it was more of a blowout, because I feel like Ohio State missed some opportunities. And this is coming from watching bits and pieces after the fact and hearing other people talk about it. So I don't have the full view of what happened. I assume you were probably watching this more than the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, I was. This is absolutely true. Yes. Again, we talked about it a little bit. I was baffled at how, like, Penn State was able to hang in there and how their defense was able to like contain the receivers, like the Buckeyes receivers, which, like, are really, really good. Like, there's multiple NFL players that they have running around for them at receiver. And like, to kind of keep them in check. Like, Stroud made a few good throws, and he made some really good throws later on in the second half. But, like, really in the first half, like, it was a clinic by Penn State, and, like, they were just really good at keeping them off balance. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought that was a blowout 100%. I know, I'm sure you didn't watch much of this at all, or I'm not sure if you see even highlights.
Not live, at least. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it was some red flags, I think, on the Ohio State train. Probably one of the reasons why we saw them at 5 tonight, I would say.
Yeah, I think you're right. If they blow Penn State out like we expected, they're ranked higher. But
probably.
Yeah, I actually had a friend of mine tell me that you need to apologize because you were so down on Penn State.
I do.
Yeah, you said they would get curb stomped, basically.
I did.
Yeah, and I kind of agreed with you. So
Yeah, well, we both had
we
them.
both
This
made
was
it
our super
our
lock.
lock of the week. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. See, okay, the reason why is because Franklin, like, he's already looking. I mean, okay, he said earlier before this game, in the lead up, that they are looking forward to playing Illinois at the big house. The big house is in Michigan, and you're not playing Illinois. So,
Yeah.
like, it was okay for me to think that they're probably not focused because of all the other like the job opportunities. Like Franklin's gone at the end of this year. Like I think it's almost a foregone conclusion. He wants to go. Like it's obvious that he wants to go. Hopefully he goes because I don't think even Penn State fans are overly happy with him anymore. So
Yeah.
I mean I understand like I was wrong in this game, but like I think overall like I'm overall right that Penn State is not maybe quite as good as what we thought.
Yeah, I don't think this game necessarily tells us all that much about Penn State. It
Right.
feels like it almost tells us more about Ohio State.
See, I think so too. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it too. I was more unimpressed with Ohio State than anything.
I think after last week, I said that Ohio State might be the second best team in the country right now.
You did. Yeah.
Backing off of that,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
they got to perform a little better against decent teams. I think before we say that.
Agreed.
Okay, just two more results that are interesting. Utah beats UCLA 44-24. Maybe in the driver's seat now for the Pac-12
Oh yeah.
South.
Pac-12 South, baby.
For the division that doesn't matter in the long run. But hey, it's still a division championship. So
I was called a schmuck in the preseason for picking Utah to beat Arizona State, and I said that they had more talent, and I was called a schmuck on YouTube, and I went back actually to the guy and replied right after Utah beat Arizona State, and just chirped him back a little bit, like, yeah, I guess who was right here because it wasn't.
Did he
you.
respond?
I don't know if he did or not. I haven't even looked, but that would be embarrassing. He probably didn't. I know I wouldn't if that was brought up later. But yeah, I'm my own like the freezing cold takes guy on Twitter. Like I'm kind of like my own guy. Like I'll bring up things from your past. Especially if I have like written proof. I think that's fun.
All right, BYU 66, Virginia 49.
Yeah.
Virginia, I still think is Notre Dame's toughest test remaining, and we've been talking about them as like a dangerous team because of their offense. And hey, props to BYU, I guess, like 66-49.
I know. Maybe Virginia just has no defense. Like that could also be true.
That is very possible. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's wrap it up here.
Okay.
Any more closing thoughts?
Go Braves. Go Braves.
Hey, I agree with you.
My goodness, we need this one. Like,
Yes.
if it goes to Game 7, that's why we actually need to get off because I need to start watching that. But
Everyone
goodness.
listening knows
My
if
goodness.
they won the
I'm so
World Series
nervous.
or if it's heading to Game 7. We do not
know.
know as of right
I know.
now because
No,
we're
I
just,
know.
yes.
Let's be honest. I'm a Georgia fan. Like we have
You need
have
something
no-
to go right.
we have no chance of winning this game. Like
This is
like,
your year, man. Georgia football behind Stetson Bennett and the Atlanta Braves. Let's
if Georgia and the Braves win in the span of like 3 months, like I will never ask for another thing again, like from God. Like that's enough. Like I'm contented in the sports realm. Like I mean other things. I will never ask for another sports thing ever again. Like that would just be the ultimate. But I've been alive for 27 years now, and my teams have won nothing. Like why would I think that like, oh no, like 2021 they're going to start winning now? Like after 27 years we're going to give you some titles. They're not. Like I lived through 28-3. I lived through the comeback of Tom Brady. I lived in second and 26 when Tua got sacked, and my goodness, he should have lost the ball on that sack, and then they won on the next play. Like, I've lived through all these things. We blew a 3-1 lead last year in the playoffs. This is the Braves. The Braves blew a 3-1 lead last year in the playoff. Like, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. We're going to lose tonight. We're going to lose tomorrow night, too. So, like, yeah, like, I'm okay with it. Like, I mean, yeah, like, we're not going to win. I'm okay. I have accepted that. I've accepted it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Georgia fan experience.
That's it.
Okay.
See you guys later.
All right. Everyone out there, have a great week and God bless.